Have you ever gone into the supermarket with a short list and left with a cart full of things you didn't even plan to buy? It's not a coincidence. Behind every corridor, every smell, and even every light, there is a whole strategy to make you spend more money than you imagined. Supermarkets are veritable machines of psychological manipulation that play with your sight, your sense of smell, and even your mental fatigue. Today, you will discover 17 tricks that are used every day to empty your pocket without you noticing. Once you experience them, you'll never look at another store like them again. 1. The real business is not food. The first thing we must understand is that the big business of supermarkets is not in the food we buy, but in the shelves where that food is placed. At first glance, it seems that the profit of these chains comes from selling milk, bread, or fruit. But the reality is very different. Profit margins for each product are very low, sometimes barely between 1% and 3%. If they depended solely on those figures, many supermarkets would have already closed their doors. The real secret lies in what are known as placement fees, a practice that involves charging brands huge sums of money to have their products occupy the most visible places in the store. A company can pay anywhere from a few $100s per product to over $200,000 in highly competitive markets, just to make sure you see their merchandise first. In the end, what supermarkets sell is not just food, but shelf space, as if they were real estate agents. And the move is perfect. Brands gain visibility, supermarkets receive steady income, and the consumer, without realizing it, ends up buying what the brands have paid to put in front of their eyes. 2. The golden zone. Within this business of renting space, there is a particularly valuable place known as the golden zone. What is it about? It is the space that is exactly at eye level, right where our gaze naturally goes. When we walk through the aisles, studies have shown that a product placed in that area can sell up to 8 times more than one located at the bottom or top of the shelf. This makes the golden zone a coveted treasure where brands compete fiercely, paying veritable fortunes. And it's no coincidence that when you walk, the first thing you see are eye-catching boxes or perfectly aligned bottles. If you look further down, you'll probably find cheaper and less advertised alternatives. If you look up, you'll see brands that didn't pay enough to be in the perfect spot. But most customers rarely bend down or crane their necks too far. What's right in front of you is what gets bought the most. Therefore, if you want to avoid falling for this trick, get into the habit of checking the shelves above and below. That's where the real bargains and better quality products are usually hidden. Products that simply don't have the budget to pay for prime shelf space. 3. Giant cars that make you spend more. You may never have noticed, but supermarket trolleys weren't always as big as they are now. Over the years, the stores strategically increased their size, and that wasn't for your comfort, but for your wallet. A larger shopping cart creates the feeling in your mind that you haven't bought enough yet, even if you already have quite a few products. Seeing so much empty space makes you feel like something is missing, and your natural reaction is to keep filling it. But the manipulation doesn't end there. Research has shown that even the design of the handles influences what you buy. When the handles are parallel, the arm muscles related to the inward pulling movement are activated more, which increases the amount of products added to the cart by an average of 25%. In contrast, with a horizontal bar, the effect is less and clear. The shopping cart becomes a kind of invisible ally of the supermarket, pushing you to spend more without you realizing it. The next time you come in, think about this. If your list is short, use a small basket or even bring your own bags. This way you'll limit the space and avoid the temptation to fill the cart just because there seems to be plenty of room left. 4. The trap of psychological pricing. Have you ever wondered why almost everything costs $3.99 instead of $4? It's not a mistake or a simple habit. It's a psychological trick studied down to the last detail. The consumer perceives $3.99 as cheaper than $4, even though the actual difference is negligible. Studies show that a product with this type of price can sell up to 24% more than one with a round number. But it's not the only trick with money. The payment method also matters. When you use cash, you feel like the money is disappearing from your wallet, which creates an immediate feeling of being spent. However, when paying by card, that feeling diminishes, and that's why we spend more. In fact, research indicates that people are more likely to add extra products to their cart if they know they will pay by card instead of cash. And of course, the ones that benefit most from this effect are the sweets, soft drinks, and snacks you see at the checkout. Cheap products that seem not to affect the total, but that add up quite a bit in the end. So if you want to control your spending, a good technique is to carry a limited amount of cash and use it only for what you had planned. 5 cents that make you want to buy. Entering a supermarket and smelling the aroma of freshly baked bread is an almost irresistible experience. The smell triggers memories, awakens the appetite, and pushes you to buy. But the surprising thing is that many times that bread doesn't even exist. What you smell are artificial fragrances deliberately released into the environment. Studies show that a citrus scent can increase sales by up to 23%, and the same goes for the smell of coffee, chocolate, or fresh fruit. These are not coincidences, but strategies designed to manipulate your sense of smell. Our brain associates certain smells with freshness, quality, or pleasure, and when we smell them, we lower our guard towards the products we find in that section. In some supermarkets, even air conditioning units are used to spread these aromas evenly throughout the space. The result is that your shopping experience becomes a carefully planned sensory journey designed to make you spend more. The next time you smell a delicious scent, stop for a second and ask yourself if it really comes from the products or if it's just another illusion created to seduce you. 6. Promotions at the back of the store. I'm sure you've noticed. Milk, bread, or the best deals are rarely near the entrance. Because supermarkets place those essential or highly attractive products at the back. The logic is simple. If you want to reach them, you must go through entire corridors filled with temptations. During that journey, things appear that weren't on your list. A bag of potato chips, an eye-catching dessert, a drink that looks irresistible. Everything is designed so that on the way to your goal, you end up adding extra products to your cart. Even the strongest promotions, those that seem like a unique opportunity, are usually at the back, forcing you to travel further than you had planned. It's an old trick, but it still works because it takes advantage of the psychology of everyday life. Even if you're in a hurry, you end up seeing something that catches your eye, and every detour means more expense. To avoid this, it's best to go with a clear list and focus on it. The more time you spend wandering the aisles, the more likely you are to leave with things you never thought you'd buy. 7. Colors that manipulate your mind. The power of colors is greater than we imagine, and supermarkets know it well. It's no coincidence that the offers are almost always in red. This color conveys urgency, confidence, and a sense of opportunity, which pushes us to buy immediately. On the other hand, green is used to convey freshness and naturalness, especially in products that want to look healthy or freshly harvested. Blue, although it may seem like a cold and uncommon color in food, has been linked to higher spending. Yes, Some studies show that people tend to spend more money in environments dominated by blue tones. Furthermore, the packaging also follows these rules. A bright yellow box quickly catches your eye, while gold tones are usually associated with quality or luxury. Each color has a function. A black package is not the same as a white one. Black conveys sophistication. White conveys cleanliness. In the end, nothing is accidental. From the super sale sign to the color of your soft drink label, everything is designed to provoke a reaction in you. If you become aware of this trick, you'll be able to make better decisions without being swayed by what your eyes automatically interpret. 8. Decision fatigue. Shopping seems like a simple activity, but your brain doesn't interpret it that way. Every time you choose between brands, sizes, or prices, you're making a decision, and after about 40 minutes in the supermarket, that process starts to wear you down. This is called decision fatigue. When you're fresh, you compare and analyze, but as time goes on, your mind gets tired and becomes more impulsive. Supermarkets know this and place tempting products in strategic locations, especially after you've been walking around the aisles for a while. Chocolates, cookies, ready-to-eat desserts, or eye-catching promotions appear when your resistance is at its lowest. Suddenly you think, well, I deserve it, and you throw it in the cart without much thought. This is one of the most powerful weapons supermarkets use because it takes advantage of your own tiredness. The larger the store, the more it will force you to walk, and the more vulnerable you will be to impulsive purchases. One way to avoid this is to plan quick shopping trips, go at times when there are fewer people, and stick to a specific list, reducing the time you are exposed to that fatigue. 9. Deceptive lights and dew. Have you noticed how the fruits and vegetables in the supermarket always look shiny, fresh, and perfect? Not everything is what it seems. Behind that appearance, there is a whole staged performance. The lights are strategically adjusted to highlight specific colors: the green of peppers and lettuce, the red of tomatoes or apples. This lighting makes the products look fresher than they actually are. But there's another trick: the famous spray of water falling on the vegetables. That effect of glistening drops gives us the feeling that they have just been harvested, as if they came straight from the field. However, that constant moisture can actually accelerate decomposition, especially in leaves like lettuce, which, when repeatedly wetted, wilts faster when you bring it home. The same thing happens with fruits that appear to be at their exact point of ripeness, but were already too advanced. Water only disguises its true nature for a while, so while you think you're choosing the freshest product, you often end up with one that won't last as long. Next time, look beyond the shine or the drops. Check the texture, firmness, and smell to see if it's really fresh. 10. Floors that slow you down without you noticing. Supermarkets don't just play with your senses of sight and smell, they also play with your feet. You may never have noticed, but in some areas, the soil changes texture. Suddenly, you go from a smooth floor to rough tiles or a softer carpet. That difference makes you slow down without realizing it. The goal is to make you walk more slowly in areas with products that offer higher profit margins. By moving slowly, you observe more of what is around you and have more time to decide to buy something you might not have planned to. Even the sound your footsteps make on certain floors influences your rhythm, giving you the feeling that you should stop. It's a subtle trick, but very effective. It is also common for these areas to be located next to shelves with more expensive products, strategically placed next to others that appear inexpensive, creating contrast and pushing you to choose what is most profitable for the store. What's fascinating is that this manipulation works almost unconsciously. Very few customers are aware of why they reduced the lane width right in that aisle. Next time, see if your rhythm suddenly changes. Perhaps it's not you, it's the ground that forces you to look 11. Artificial scarcity. Nothing creates more urgency in the consumer than the idea of running out of something. Supermarkets know this and apply the tactic of artificial scarcity. What does it consist of? They reduce the quantity of certain products on the shelves to give the impression that there are few units left. If you see a single box of cereal or a couple of bottles, you think they're about to run out, and your natural reaction is to buy them immediately. The fear of missing the opportunity outweighs the real need. This strategy is intensified in alert situations, such as when a storm is announced or any event that makes people think they could run out of supplies. Then, the aisles empty out because customers are snapping up everything, driven by the anxiety of not being left behind. The irony is that many times there is no such shortage. The store simply plays with perception. Ultimately, the hidden message is buy now, because if you leave it for later, it might not be there anymore. And even though you know they'll probably restock tomorrow, your brain doesn't want to take the risk. That's how we end up accumulating products that we don't need at that moment. 12. The checkout line, the big business. If there's one place where supermarkets concentrate all their tricks, it's in the checkout line. There, when you're already tired, with a full cart and an exhausted mind, they place the most profitable products: chocolates, candies, small soft drinks, batteries, lighters, and even magazines. Everything that seems cheap and doesn't hurt the budget, but that together generates millions. In fact, it is estimated that about 16% of everything bought in a supermarket is sold in this area. The most surprising thing is the exact moment. 87% of those purchases are decided just 3 seconds before the customer reaches the cashier. It's a moment of distraction when you have your wallet in your hand and your attention lets down. Furthermore, brands pay fortunes to be there. Placing a product in that prime location can cost up to $1 million a year. And the reason is clear. If you are forced to pass through that place, the chances of you impulsively taking something are extremely high. The irony is that many consumers don't remember planning it. It simply fell into his hands in those final seconds of waiting. 13. Music that changes your purchase. The sound environment also plays a crucial role in your decisions. You may never have thought about it, but the background music isn't there by chance. For example, in the wine section, it has been found that if French music is played, wine sales increase by up to 15%. Why does this happen? Because our brain associates the environment with experience. If music evokes a French market, we are automatically more inclined to choose a product that fits that feeling. The same applies to soft, relaxing melodies that encourage you to spend more time inside the store. The longer you spend browsing the aisles, the more products you'll see and the more likely you are to buy. In some cases, even more upbeat music is used in specific areas to stimulate the shopper's energy and speed up the pace of shopping. Sound is an invisible but very powerful tool because it directly affects your mood. The next time you enter a supermarket and hear a song playing in the background, ask yourself, is it really there to entertain, or is it part of a silent strategy to guide your consumer behavior? 14. Cereal and children. The manipulation starts early. One of the most lucrative aisles in the supermarket is the cereal aisle. And it's no coincidence that it's also one of the children's favorites. Brands pay millions of dollars to have their products placed at the right height for children. In this way, as they walk alongside their parents, Children directly see the colorful boxes with drawings of characters and promotional toys that immediately attract them. The result is that they ask, insist, and pressure until they get the parents to add the box to the cart. It is estimated that profit in this sector can reach 45%, and that explains why so much is invested in children's advertising within the aisles. The most worrying thing is that many of these cereals contain huge amounts of sugar and additives. From a young age, children become accustomed to very sweet flavors that become habits that are difficult to break in adulthood. In other words, manipulation begins in childhood and creates lifelong loyal consumers. That memory of choosing cereal because of the favorite toy or character was not innocent. It was part of a carefully designed strategy. 15. Labels that deceive. Few things are as confusing as product labels. Words like natural, organic, or no artificial flavors seem synonymous with health, but they often conceal very different realities. For example, a package of cookies can claim to be wholemeal, but when you check the ingredient list, you discover that it contains huge amounts of sugar, refined flours, and additives with difficult-to-pronounce names. The same applies to expressions like no preservatives or no artificial colors. Jurot? That may be true in one respect, but the product compensates with other chemicals or starches like maltodextrin, which sound innocent, but actually raise blood sugar quickly. There are even foods that are advertised as fortified with vitamins and minerals, when what they have actually done is add minimal amounts of synthetic supplements to give the impression that they are healthy. In the end, the consumer believes they are making a better decision, but in reality, they have been guided by advertising language designed to confuse. The lesson is clear. Beyond the slogan, what matters is the actual list of ingredients. 16. The happiness point. Behind many ultra-processed foods lies a key concept, the happiness point. It is a formula created in laboratories that combines sugar, fat, and salt in exact proportions to generate immediate pleasure when eating. That combination makes you want to repeat it and is so effective that it works similarly to certain addiction mechanisms. It's no coincidence that a bag of potato chips is hard to let go of, or that you can't eat just one cookie. They are designed to make the brain release dopamine, that substance that makes you feel good and immediately want another serving. The trick is so powerful that it even affects taste memory. The next time you walk down the aisle and see that same package, you'll remember how good it made you feel and you'll buy it again. This creates an endless cycle in which you don't decide with logic, but with conditioned impulses. This type of food engineering is not about nourishing you, but get hooked. And while you think it's just your favorite snack, what's really happening is that you've fallen for one of the industry's most elaborate techniques to keep you consuming nonstop. 17. Too much variety, too many purchases. In the 1990s, an average supermarket offered around 7,000 products. Today, that figure can reach 50,000. At first glance, having more options seems positive, but the truth is that so much variety works against you. When you face too many alternatives, your brain gets overwhelmed, tired, and ends up making less rational decisions. This phenomenon is known as the paradox of choice. Instead of feeling freer, you feel more confused, and that makes you more likely to choose impulsively. Furthermore, this saturation increases the likelihood that you will buy things you had never considered just because they were there in eye-catching packaging or on a prime shelf. Brands know that competing for space is tough, which is why they pay huge amounts to stand out among thousands of similar products. And meanwhile, you, the consumer, think you are choosing freely when in reality you are reacting to the bombardment of stimuli. The paradox is that what should give you control, variety, and practice takes it away. And so what began as a simple purchase ends up becoming a much larger expense than planned. Supermarkets are true masters of manipulation. From the size of the shopping cart to the smell that floats in the air, every detail is designed to make you spend more. Now you know their tactics. The golden zone, psychological pricing, music, artificial scarcity, and even cereals targeted at children. Everything is designed so that you buy without thinking too much. The key to resisting is simple. Bring a list, avoid going in hungry, and focus on what you really need. This way, you can regain control and not let the supermarket decide for you.